very frustrated with this pandemic, locked in and feeling I want to go out. Everybody, even the introverts, were enjoying. I mean, personally, I am one. But at the same time, there were some frustrations about, inefficiencies that we could all see in the system, and we all wanted to solve. So that's where this topic comes for you all. Before that, okay, so did you know, before coming here, I was just checking the statistics about Hong Kong and the data that the government publishes every year. And I realized that the 80% of the people who are detected with chronic diseases are above 40. And we all are on that journey, and we all are, part of this. So it is a problem that's worth for all of us to think about, for sure. And that's something that I really admired when I saw that the Hong Kong government actually releases information so that we all can make use of it and add and contribute back to it. That's the beauty of data, right? And the data and the power of open source community coming together and really making a change in that space. So this is something that I found. Now, when we see that there are problems, there are issues there are like literally 70,000 classified diseases, but the cures for it are roughly 3,000. Similarly, the disparity on the doctor and the patient ratio is quite known as a topic, right? Where the scheduling time is very high to reach to a doctor. So what can we do to change the narrative? So I'm giving a couple of cases where we use Python in different scenarios, and how we are changing this narrative, and I hope we all can do that together as well. So the first case is a very simple case. I want to start with one simple thing that we did. This is a data of the kidney transplant. So people who were detected with kidney failures were applicants for kidney transplants. Now the healthcare providers have to make a decision who gets the kidney on priority or not. Okay, so this is the problem. And they've been doing that over the years. We are not here to challenge, or we are not here to say whether what is right or wrong, but we are here to help them support and be more data conscious, aware whether the decision that they've made could get better or could align better to the requirements as well of the needs of the people. So what we did was, these are the list of patients, the information about how many times they've gone through dialysis, what age, what are their performance parameters in terms of the blood reports, and whether the transplant was allocated for them or not. Once the transplant is done, how long have they lived or not was also being checked. So something very simple when we started with this problem was to check whether the decision making was, matching the pattern in a uniform way. So we just used a decision tree classifier, and we just fit the information of what they've been doing to check whether they are able to create a win-win scenario for majority of the people who are getting transplants. Are they getting transplant at the right time? So for example, a renal patient goes through like the kidney journey like for over 10, 11 years, and if he's getting the transplant in the information. And this is a key pain point actively that as a developer I saw that the non-techs or the specialists of different fields fail to understand the gap, right? And it's the gap that we need to bridge. And that's where, when we use graph databases, the clarity of understanding that information, the information retrieval, gets a little better. And that is why we chose to use Python with a graph database so that you could populate information in a better way. I'll show you all how. So what we did here was we connected to a graph database through Python code here. Before that, internally we have populated information on how investors are funding different healthcare institutions. So So I have populated information in the CSV, which is basically an investor's portfolio of 500 companies that they invested upon. The complaint, as you and me as consumers, is, okay, I want better treatment for nerve damage, for example. Is the funding going there, or not? Is funds being actively allocated or not? Do we have transparency? All right. So many a times, do we have transparency on? So say as a woman, I know that there's a lot of period pain issues and a lot of endometriosis issues. Are funds actively being allocated or not? The transparency is a bit skewed because previously there was a disparity of fund allocations because the major consumers were men. and the demand, or women were going through this, that information was not really put out there. So right now, when there are like more and more working women in the field, there are more and more people asking for better cures, the fund allocation and the disparity is also coming out clear. Now this is a win-win for businesses as well as consumers when the disparity is becoming more clear, because if there is demand, there will be investments in that field. Now, why am I speaking about all of this from a business field, business topic in a Python conference? Why? How many of y'all are, consumers directly or indirectly of healthcare? We all use healthcare, right? Like directly or indirectly. It matters to us. And why would a business run a business? To make profits? Most of the time people run businesses to make profits. Now, who is going to take care of the consumers, right? Like, who will make sure that the tech, the built up technology is suitable for consumers? Who is going to regulate that? All of us, because we have the power to go and contribute to the places where the consumer centricity matters. And that's why building code on the consumer side is important. And why? Because we, as open source communities, are able to make change, right? Like the Python is one of the largest open source communities as well, and the top languages, right? I mean, we are contributing the most actively, and that is why we can. And the profiles of all of them, then the diagnostic matching towards all the profiles can get better for him as well. That's the third case scenario. So what we did was we clustered the patient attributes together, and then for him to show that what all diagnostics he's done for different patient profiles, he could actually match them and see whether which were success cases or not. So that's another third area which we used Python for, where we were able to see the diagnostic matches with the patient profiles so that he could see the success rates and the change on his own feedback system that he can make to see if the patient is performing better or not. So this was the third case here. So far, these are the different cases that we solved, like the information delivery for different healthcare professionals. One interesting space in a different direction for you all is how many of you all are passionate about cars? Okay. Drones. Okay. So, other question is a little more just to know because of the other. So if you can build good algorithms to detect where there are needs of disaster and drop those packages of emergencies, of health packages in those areas, you can again make a difference. So the purpose of my talk here is for you all to think which ideas can really help, and those might be social causes, those might be areas that are really needed. But I think after work, we all need to think at least once a day about what can we do apart from whatever is going on in the ecosystem, especially after the pandemic. One cool fact that I found about Hong Kong government is actively doing is they've invested heavily in the healthcare space after the pandemic and committed over $130 billion right now. Government is doing, identified also that the biggest way of achieving success in the pandemic space is to make sure that we all have a collaborative approach towards solving these problems. And that is where this talk comes into picture, that what can you do in day-to-day life to solve simple problems in healthcare. It could be a classification model that could help your doctor understand his own data better, simple. Second, it could help allocation of funds are happening properly in terms of demand and supply proper or not. It could help there. Third, it could help in better diagnostic information awareness for the doctors, for the healthcare institutions to make better calls of whether the allocation is right or wrong, whether the treatment could have been better or wrong. That feedback mechanism gets improved as well. But who needs to do it? All of us together. And it has to be a collaborative effort because the governance checks need to be more people than just one organization, one body, one person at the end of the day. And it's not one person's job for sure, because the demographics, the widespread use, the kind of variations that are there, the information is very diverse in terms of people. Every body is different, every human is different. But how we arrange the information better and provide it in a much better way is what I think we need to work on actively. We used clustering, we used graph databases to make sure that the information is properly visualized and showcased. You can also check out DICOM. It is a data integration standard for communication in medical devices. So CT scans, and we are making sure that the matchmaking of clinical trials and the information is matching rightly, so that there are more and more people benefiting as the last option. When they require a clinical trial, they should get it. So that's what we've been doing actively. So welcome to join this initiative, which is called Usha Renal Care Foundation. Apart from it, what you can do here is you can contribute your 100 lines of code and attempt to save a life. You can check out the projects and see there are multiple open source projects out there which you can contribute to. So instead of checking out them all, you can write those 100 codes and you can make a difference. And that satisfaction with which you sleep that day would be something that would save a life together. So contribute your 100 lines of code and save a life. I'm here around in the healthcare space actively working. Pythonista is first, so always will be working codes at night and running a business and entrepreneurship towards social impact. Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, and happy to build a bigger, better community towards saving lives together. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you, Shilpa. Here we come to a Q&A session. Does anyone of you have a question for our speaker or the topic?
Or I'll have questions for you all.
Yeah, but I do have a question. How can we contribute to the healthcare industry or the entire people on this planet by our 100 lines of code?
Yes, so we are reaching out to medical experts to share their pain points, because right now only like 9% of information is used in the healthcare industry. So the companies that have large amount of data are securely able to share it, and they are putting out the pain points that need to be solved as well. So we are actively aggregating that. So if you all can connect with us, we can connect you, map you to the projects that you're interested in, and you can choose to donate your 100 lines of code to those initiatives. So at Usha Renal Care Foundation, we are taking this step right now. So we will be soon publishing a website that will be showcasing the list of projects which are completely on the social side and require help. And then you can choose and put it up there. So we're just collecting volunteers so that we can showcase we have an army to help. Hong Kong is new to me right now, so exactly like Hong Kong is like, this is my second time here for PyCon particularly.
So if there is any institution in Hong Kong that would like to just partner with you, that would be a new start?
Yes, absolutely.
But I would like just to back to my question, which area or which countries now the most of the case come from?
So right now we are running this as a global initiative. The last I was at Dubai. Dubai government is also interested to do this actively. So right now it's like volunteers also need to be there to take up this initiative for a new location. We are currently in 7 countries. So India, Thailand, Singapore, Dubai, UK, we have a presence there. So we are exploring UK as well. So UK government also funded us in the pandemic for certain initiatives.
So do you think that in these different regions, the data policy for the healthcare sector have something that the Hong Kong can take reference from?
Yes, so that's where the HIPAA Compliance Act 2 and the High-Tech Act 2, they are the most recent ones. So the encryption requirements are higher. that's where exactly you all can come into picture as well to make sure that the encryption is really there for the initiatives that are going on, because data privacy governance is the biggest problem. Yeah, exactly. So is it really there or not is a check that's humanly impossible. You know how many telehealth applications came in the pandemic? 390,000 telehealth applications have come after the pandemic. Now, how can the regulators check each and every 390,000 telehealth applications? It's impossible. And that's where we need to create those bots that are like whistleblowing that, oh, no encryption here when you're logging onto a website. As simple as that. So that's where HIPAA compliance, high-tech compliance is there. That is working, like the regulation is put out, but we need to create those code checkers that could check whether it's really compliant or not. And whistleblow if required. It helps everyone in the process. So yes, that would really help. And we as an organization are also actively trying to do the same, that we're checking for every location, can we do cross-border or not? Because cross-border helps both the countries if the information is being shared, but in a secure way, again. So again, it's a public initiative. I wouldn't say that it's just us doing it. I need like 100 more people to vet it together that it's really safe to do it, because otherwise there's no point of doing it. There are businesses, large pharmaceutical moguls already doing a lot of things. So, yes. What are the pain points that Hong Kong sees that need to be solved in healthcare? Just would love to know if anybody would like to share.
I think eventually we are in this room. We are Pythonista and contribute to the Python community as well as the global community. And eventually, I know someone from quite industrial background, manufacturing, and eventually our job will actually benefit to the human beings, and that is the goal of our daytime job or nighttime part-time job. So I think any of you, if you can think of that relate your daytime job to the healthcare, connect it together, and then we can really benefit to our human beings and healthcare.
Exactly. That is exactly the point. Like during the day, we work in different industries, but I think we have to take something from that and contribute to healthcare to make sure it's stronger and better.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shilpa. So that's the end of our track in this room, but this is not the end of our Python event today. You may continue to join our event on the hall.